Hello, it is Scott with Zenby AI, and welcome to the Systems Are Sexy podcast. Today, I am joined by Michele Combs. She is the founder of 99 Triumphs. It's a consulting firm that helps real estate and prop tech companies uncover hidden revenue streams through strategic partnership and smarter data monetization. She has spent more than 2 decades in real estate technology, including time in Remax and ListHub, where she helped build one of the most influential publisher networks in real estate. So she's seen the evolution of data, partnerships, and platform, and has a unique gift for spotting industry shifts 2 years before they hit the mainstream. Michele, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Scott. I really appreciate it.
What was a turning point that led you to launch your own firm?
As all things happen, you cap out at your top level at companies, and I was there. And it was time to move along. So yeah, what kind of really got it going is just I had a major illness or a major issue. I broke my back, and I needed to start something that I could be flexible about. And I just know a lot of people in our industry. People share things with me that maybe they shouldn't share with me kind of their direction, and I hear a lot, I see a lot, and so I've become a really good connector because of all the relationships I've formed in all these years. What's fun is if you stay with something long enough, I always tell my kids this, if you stay with something long enough, you end up to be everybody that you started with at the beginning. We were all, lower level people. Everybody starts getting promoted and you end up with all these executive people in your life. If you just hang on long enough, then all of a sudden you're in the middle of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know I wanted to mention that you mentioned about picking winners early. So I was wondering, like, what patterns or signals do you look for when identifying emerging prop tech or AI trends?
Well, that's a really good question. It was interesting. So one of the jobs I've done and was I was did strategic alliances and partnerships for Remax. And so I would talk to around 30 to 50 companies a month, just going through their model. What are they trying to do? Are they a good fit for our agent network? And then we would make decisions on where they fit in our flow. And I think it becomes really obvious. There's a couple of things I always look for was, can the person articulate what they're saying? um, is if they can't say it to me, they're going to have a hard time getting it across to other people. And sometimes they have the fanciest systems and they're like really, really sophisticated marketing. And I want to say systems, but they were trying to put it in a different category than it really was. They would say, oh, it's a marketing system. I'm like, no, it's a virtual tour. It's a virtual tour with marketing. And so sometimes they just had a hard time articulating that. If they get frustrated, but then when somebody doesn't say the same words that they're using, they put it in a different category. For me, that was always a tell that there's going to be a problem and that company is not aligned with what the industry is looking at. But from a tech perspective, it's always been, well, we would always product test, but our first strike at looking at it is, does it actually work? Does it actually work? We log in and do the buttons work? Do the things work? And then just making sure that it's interesting and different than what we've seen before, a different spin on things. I think it's like when you're shopping for a camera, probably, sorry, my husband is a camera enthusiast, even on the digital side. So he's got a lot of background on that. So when you look at cameras or cars or whatever it is, if you look at them long enough, you start to see the ones that really rise to the top they're just different. They're better. They have a better story. I don't know. They make sense faster. And the faster they can tell their story, the quicker they grow. And the quicker they grow, the more stable they are. And that's kind of the crux of it. You have to have your story down, how the product runs, how it's going to help other people.
Got it. Yes, maybe so. If listeners aren't familiar, what does 99 Triumphs do and what problem are you helping to solve?
Thanks. One of the hardest parts in running a business for a technology company is taking your eye off the product and the individual users who are buying the product and focusing on long-term future. And so they sacrifice B2B or business development. They sacrifice that side of prospecting for partnerships that can bring 1,000 accounts at once instead of one or two or five or, a single brokerage. Most companies will start marketing directly to brokerages and thinking, oh, the broker's just going to open the kimono and let us have that's a terrible phrase anymore, isn't it? But they'll just let us have, every agent is going to sign up and every agent's going to use us and they're all going to pay $100 a month and I'm going to be sitting pretty. And the reality is the brokers get head up with this stuff all the time. And so ends up to be a better synergy, in my opinion, in the business to business, at the let's leverage our networks together and let's build together for something greater. So I lean really heavily in that direction. I help take off that B2B. I introduce them to other CEOs that are looking for change, looking for growth, looking for something new to be excited about. Because we get bored. Technology companies, it's just really easy to get bored.
So I know you've kind of helped companies monetize data and find hidden revenue. Do you have any client success stories that you feel like your approach has made a difference for them?
Yeah, yeah. So, boy, I didn't realize that this is all an interview about my business, and thank you. I didn't expect that. I thought we were going a little different direction, so forgive me. I not wasn't really prepared to walk in and talk about big things like that. You know, I think one of the things I have two sides of me of what I do. I love technology so much that I'm usually one of the earliest people on a product, and so I it's bringing in that new product and saying, "Oh, this has legs, this has legs," but then realizing, "Oh, it's a little early. This is not the easy part of selling the product. This is the hard part." Explaining, I always think of the first product out of the door, first product whoever comes up with that concept for that industry is a sacrificial lamb. They're going to spend the majority of their budget educating people on what that product is and does. I end up in a lot of those because I really love the new cool tech and the possibilities of LLMs and of the photo machine learning of photos, and some of those things I was really early at. And today it took 2 years since I was on board, and now they're seeing the great success. So if I look at the bigger companies and the B2B successes, it's matching this company with an industry. I can't name names. I'm not going to name names because I can't go there, but it's looking at this product in another industry and how this could change the way that they're recruiting, the way that they're managing things. So I had a company, we had a $2.5 million new revenue line because we connected these two companies from different industries, and we used the technology product in a little different way than the industry they're in. You just a little different spin, and it's still reaching consumers. It's still reaching the heart of what people are looking for in that other industry. So I apologize. I'm not going to go into details because they're not live yet. Yeah, but inking those deals has been really fun. I've got a couple of really good ones happening right now that are top in their categories. Two big tech companies that are top in their categories. This one has a big audience. They have, 65% of all brokers are using their system. This one over here is the king of, I want to be careful because you'll know who it is if I say top of their the king of the rental space, for instance. And if I can bring those two together, they're solving each other's problems. This one needs a rental solution and this one needs more audience. And we've solved that problem together.
That's cool.
So we've
All right.
had some
Well,
really we can
yeah, we'll shift gears here.
okay.
Yeah, so I was wondering, obviously, you kind of at the forefront, so you're seeing a lot of things that maybe other people aren't. And I'm wondering, are there changes that you see coming in the next maybe 1 to 2 years for brokerages, data companies, or prop tech?
Yeah. Yeah, Scott, listen, this is probably where my passion is. I'm kind of all fired up about the Compass and the Zillow and just the movements in our industry, Rocket acquiring Rocket acquiring Redfin, Compass acquiring Anywhere, and Lower acquiring Mavoto, and the property portals becoming brokerages. It's changing everything. It's everything. I think a lot of people are thinking that the MLSs were the ones that were going to go under a year ago. I think that's what everyone was looking at. They're not going to make it. I don't think they're going to make it. I think they're going to make it. Oddly enough, I think they're going to make it. But it's all shifting. The thing I think is really important, and I don't feel like people are really acknowledging, is that what we thought in the early 2000s, sorry, this really dates me, but what we thought in the early 2000s when the internet started coming up, and there's people in the early 2000s, I would say 2000, 2001, who are still saying the internet is just a fad and then it's not going to stay. And there was other people saying, oh, it's going to put agents out of business. This is going to end all real estate in 5 years and we're all going to be done. Well, everything in real estate moves slower than you ever imagined. But I think the chat GPT and the LLMs is probably one of the most significant. And I know everybody's saying that in so many different industries, it's changing everything. I think when I look at where just some of the challenges that are surfacing with data. Zillow became a broker, Homes.com became a broker because data was hard to get. So with ListHub, we were making it easy, right? That's one thing we did, but it was only 50% of the data in the US. So not every broker put all their listings into that system and syndicated them out. So that wasn't complete. So if I'm a property portal, what am I doing with half of the listings? I don't look like the authority and they want to be the authority. So my next step is I go to the MLS's direct, or I go to the broker's direct and try to get their full feeds. And if they don't do that, then what's my next move? Or if that's expensive, then what's my next move? My next move is to become a broker, because it's actually cheaper to become a broker than it is to buy data from the MLSs. So I look at those kinds of moves and I look at the money and the power behind those brands, and I see the path is, well, let me give you one more bit of background and then I'll kind of go with my vision. I look at the job recs that are available out there on the big national brands, real estate brokerages, brokerage brands. There's some interesting job recs out there. There's a lot of hiring happening, and it's all around innovation and the end-to-end consumer experience. So Zillow they've done a good job of mastering that. I think homes.com is on their way to that. Agents and brokers are not solving the problem very well. There's company like Raise. I hope it's not bad to mention company names, but look at Raise. I look at Redfin and Compass. Both have pretty good systems that help walk the buyer through the process and help them understand what's happening. Zillow is being sued over that right now, but that's okay. It's a whole different story. Whole different story. But I think that's what consumers want, is more understanding of where they are in the process, more communication with that. But meanwhile, there's a bunch of companies, prop tech companies, are coming up saying, this whole system doesn't work. This is such a good time to come into the industry because they're all infighting. They're all going up against each other. NAR is fighting, everybody's fighting NAR, they're fighting their MLSs, they're fighting Zillow, they're fighting each other. And it's such a great time, and data is really hard to get and expensive, and they're guarded. And so there's a lot of movement I've never seen such pressure to disintermediate the agent. We don't think that these companies truly don't believe that agents are the future of real estate. They're a part of it, a smaller part, a much smaller part. And they're finding ways to make it easier for for the consumer to walk through that process without an agent involved, except to open the door, which was Redfin's model, right? And now there's a new one. There's a new one out of Texas that's basically a door opener too. Is that Turbo? That has got that model too. Yeah, I think about how many hours we all spend going out and getting our broker's license. What is it, 40 hours? And then you've got your continuing education, you've got all those costs, and we're just door openers now. So I, I think we're with LLM, with everything that we're doing with computer vision, it's going to be able to solve a lot of the consumers' questions in ChatGPT, but the agent's still not eliminated. It's just we're really facing what the travel industry faced in the 2000s. We truly are now. And so we've got to be experts. The agents have to be experts again. We can't sit around, and I feel like sorry, I'm not giving you a breath at all, but I just feel like agents are not really out there to serve the customer as much as they used to be. And I don't understand why that changed. I think it's just the volume of listings that were coming and how fast, and you're one of 50 offers. And they're just losing strategy. They don't even know how to prospect for themselves anymore, it seems like. They're buying all their leads off of other places. And if they're not getting a lead from there, what do? I have no business. Well, knock on doors, dude. Do something. Do something. And so I see, as they get lazier or more complacent, is probably the better way to say it, more complacent about these parts that got easier for a while, the technology just wipes past them. So that's I think the part that I don't feel like anybody's really looking at. They're not looking at how do we continue to evolve our value as advisors, as advocates, as your champion, to make sure you don't buy that stupid house that backs to the major road that there's going to be a mall right behind you in a year. Who's advising them? ChatGPT won't.
There's a lot of really interesting knowledge that I think you just shared right there. To kind of stay with AI, how do you feel, like, your perspective on AI, how it can balance compliance, like TCPA, with innovation and outreach? Have you kind of thought about that?
Can you explain? Can you give me a little bit more context of what you're looking for?
Yeah, I'm just wondering how AI, how can you incorporate that where there's innovation, there's outreach, but you're still not, I guess, like crossing the regulatory line. So you're still approaching ethically, but like I understand the old school approach of knocking on doors and that because I feel like we've kind of gotten away from that and relying on too much technology. But I'm wondering how much should we rely on AI in our real estate business versus the old school
So
approach?
you're really asking, like, from an agent perspective,
Right.
how much can I use AI to prospect, or how much can I use AI to give give responses for my customers and help them understand this contract, or help them understand that, this house is a good opportunity or not.
Yeah, I think the fear too is, and I talk to realtors, they would say, "I really wanna implement AI, but I feel like it's not me, and I don't." They feel like they still need to be involved in every process, and I wanna say, "Hey, but there's parts of your business that can be automated that you can take a step back from," and I think that's kind of a disconnect with some people.
Yeah, I think that it's easy to get stuck in the thinking that AI is going to replace you entirely. And I think that we're starting to see things settle a little bit more, that it's really just that aid. And I don't mean to be redundant. I'm sure everybody's heard that before. But what I think about is, if my customer calls me at, I don't know, 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock at night, I'm feeding my kids, and they're like, I don't understand what's in this title policy. It says that the boundaries, it looks like the property is over the boundary lines. I had a real estate license. I sold for a top producer for 5 years in the 90s. In the 90s. So forgive me, but like, this is what we dealt with all the time, is people calling late at night and they're asking these questions. And I'm just trying to feed my kids, and I'm not going to give the best answer in that moment. And frankly, I have to go and spend a half an hour reading the title policy to find the section they were even talking about in the 500-page document. So I'm better off using ChatGPT, loading that document up into ChatGPT, and I hope title companies go this direction, and helping the customer understand, like giving them the resource. Here, I've got this resource, and I'm going to share the search I did on it, and this is what it's saying. That you are it is over the line, over the property line. That shed is 10 feet. It's true. And so we're going to need to address that. And here's how we're going to address that. We're going to require that the seller move the shed over 10 feet, or we need to have some kind of a you know, compensation or some agreement with the neighbor that says, "Oh, no, no, this is okay." I think those are ways that it can help the agent in communication. I also think it's a good for tire kickers. So it's the people calling and saying, "I saw that it had 3 bedroom, 2 bath. It's 3 bedrooms and 2 baths. I just wanted to verify that." Like, dude, it says that right online. Everywhere you're looking, it says that. Why are you asking me this? Like, some of the AI is getting really good in answering those basic questions that an assistant can answer. They're not really technical, they're just basic stuff. Yes, it does that, and it can do it in a more patient manner. Sometimes we feel when we're out there showing houses, or we're in the middle of a closing, or whatever it is, we can't get to those things. And I think I see some really cool LLMs coming up. The large language models that answer, even MLSs are starting to bring those on board, answer the questions even within the MLS. So if the agent says, "Hey, I don't did I pay my dues, and do the rules allow me to put a sign in the window of this condo in this particular neighborhood, and this is part of the MLS rules and regulations or the state's laws." I think it helps us communicate those things where we're getting poor customer service. So I think from an agent perspective, it can do a lot there. I've seen some really interesting AI that can basically prospect for you. It'll put it out there. It says, "Hey, I'm Michelle's assistant. It's been a little while since we talked to you, and we just want to see how you're doing." That's it. And so a person responds and says, "Oh yeah, I can't believe you're reaching out to me today. This is fantastic. And I've got a property that I'm getting a divorce, and the lawyer said I have to have a valuation by tomorrow." I literally saw this conversation, and this is an agent. Turns out it was an agent asking the questions of this bot. Didn't even know they were talking to a bot. They thought they were talking to another agent. And it's patient, right? It says, "Oh yeah, yeah, I can help you with that. I can help you get that valuation out. I'm happy to do it." And so it doesn't pretend like it's not you. It just says, I can definitely help you with that. And in the end, it's not really giving answers. It's just saying, I'll organize this for you. I'll take care of it. I'll get back to you tomorrow with whatever it is that we needed. I think in that way, that kind of prospecting is interesting. I'm not a big fan of it taking over for who you are. I'm finding that authenticity in how we communicate is being spotted quicker than it used to be. And I think it's becoming more valuable. So there's some level of, I've never talked to these people before, they wouldn't know it's not me. And there's another level that can look in my database and say, "Oh, Joe and Cynthia had a baby 6 months ago, and I should be asking about that." AI can do that, can remind me to do that. It can do that. Those are kind of cool. That really helps everybody. It helps them feel cared for without sacrifice. But I think I see it as assistive. If you think of it like an assistant, this is an assistant reaching out on behalf of Michele Combs, and you're not phony about it. I think most people are okay with it. Yeah, Scott, I think I was asking you, like, do you know anybody that can do outbound prospecting to cold call people? I don't know if we're going to get there. I don't know if regulations are going to allow us to get there. And maybe that's not all bad.
Yep. No, I hear what you're saying there. Maybe as it relates to your business or maybe when you talk to your clients, is there one part of your business you would love to automate?
You know what's funny? I'm definitely I'm a one-to-one marketer. Like because I'm so curating the opportunities for these companies. Like I'm not just connecting them with every single person I talk to. I'm connecting them with the ones that would be the best fit. I'm pulling up those in one at a time to email them or call them. And I wish there were a way that I trusted to make that easier to identify and then write it in my voice better. Because right now it feels too polished, and I don't talk polished. I'm just I don't finish sentences. No, I don't say, "How are the kids?" I'm just like, that's not the way I operate. And so I think if it were I would love, and I'm probably working in this direction with ChatGPT, is loading in more of my relationships and trying to help me match the opportunities. But I don't trust it because it doesn't see the way I think about how this automotive company technology could work in the real estate business in this way to help this thing. It's not thinking that way. I think it'll get smarter, but I think I'm pretty terrible at letting go of it writing my emails for me. That's very personal to me. It's like writing a note. So that would be the area I think I could do better with automation. But I do have a system. I have to say, five prospects a day, 5 companies. I try to reach 5 companies every single day. And that prospecting, I think, applies to everybody. That was the thing that turned our business around in real estate was prospecting every single day, calling people even just to say, "Hey, I've got 2 extra tickets to the ball game today. Could you take it?" And knowing that they couldn't, but then now they feel guilty because I called them. And we literally used to do that. We used to call in the middle of the day when we knew that they wouldn't be around, and we would say, "We have 2 tickets to the ball game." And then you leave a voicemail for them, or today I'd text for them, and they, "No, sorry, I can't make it." Like, because I only have 2 tickets, and I'm trying to make 100 calls to make this work. It was very effective, by the way. How do you do that with AI? I mean, how can we do that with AI? Maybe there's a way.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I was going to ask you, one of the goals of the podcast is really to educate people. Maybe somebody wants to go out on their own like you've done. And maybe what advice would you give someone that's like maybe they work for a company and they're thinking about going on their own in real estate or prop tech? What advice would you give that person?
I'm sure it's advice that they've heard before. It's starting something. Consulting is a little bit challenging. It is. It really is. Because you never know where your next opportunity is coming from, and there's no job security at all. So if and I do have people call me and ask me, how do I start consulting like you? And it's fine. You just have to be dedicated to prospecting. You cannot give that up. It's the most important part. But if I'm looking at a career change, and I don't know if this is exactly your question, I was stuck in a lot of jobs that I didn't love in life. I just did them because I felt like I was stuck. I had to. I was a single mom. I don't want to lose my job. I've got great benefits. I did things I don't love. And I think looking back, I wish I would have followed things that really lit me up every day and not been afraid to put myself out there. Because what I found was that particularly when you have a job at big companies, big well-known brands like Remax, like I did, or Realtor.com and ListHub, like I did, you're the big fish in their small pond. And I never knew that. I just wasn't courageous enough to go and ask and look at the opportunities. But that opens up huge things if it's a recognized brand. And literally, I feel like it hardly even matters what you did at that company. Just the fact that you worked there at all, suddenly everybody looks at you with this credibility. Scott, just to throw this out there, I don't have a formal college degree. I don't. I went for a couple of years. I was a single mom, I was doing my thing, just trying to get through it, and ended up finding real estate. I liked it. Got my license and quit. So I'm like this close to an associate's degree at a community college. But tenacity wins. Tenacity wins. And here I am, 30 years later in this business, and I can pretty much pick up the phone, call most CEOs in this business. Most executives in this business know who I am. And it's just not doing things that you hate. And if you just have the, I don't know, fearlessness to follow something that you really enjoy getting up for, it just changes everything. But even if it's you're starting small, you're still a somebody to somebody else.
Yeah, that's great. If people want to learn more about you and your company, what's the best way to go about doing that?
Yeah, if you come to 99 Triumphs, there's a little something there. I
Mhm.
mostly work by referrals.
Yeah,
So I don't do a lot of prospecting. I don't do a lot of, I mean, like, you wouldn't see a lot of articles and stage time from me. I'm a little shy on the stage. But yeah, 99triumphs.com. I don't want to put my phone number out on here, or I would, but you can find me there. Um, I'm not great at social either. Scott, there's another thing for AI. I need AI to automate that better for me. And I found a few tools and I haven't found how it fits my niche real well.
for social media, you mean? Okay, yeah, we can talk about that.
Yeah, that's cool. Good.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna
Appreciate
say I
your time.
appreciate you being on. This has been really helpful.
Well, I'm excited. I hope that your podcast really takes off. I hope that it goes the direction you want it to go. And 3 years from now, we're all looking back saying, "Oh my gosh, Scott had the holy grail." It's exactly what people wanted to know is how to do this better. I really want to see you thrive.
Thank you. That really means a lot. Well, thank you, and that's it for today, guys. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much.